Snacks Review. Today we're going to be talking about a movie from 2015 that was actually requested by a longtime fan of the channel, Andy the Corgi. Now, I won't lie, I thought this one was going to be corny, and boy was I right. But then again, when Mystery Inc. is involved, it typically means it's going to be, and it gets even weirder when you throw a rock band like Kiss into the mix. That's right, we're talking about Scooby-Doo and Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery. A weird and wild movie about, well, a bit of everything. And I really wish I were joking about that, but I'm not. First, we're going to talk about the cast, and I'll briefly go over each of the two main groups, but in this one, we're going to shake things up a bit since there aren't really antagonists. Well, there is actually an antagonist, but part of the beauty of a mystery is trying to guess who it is, so we'll go over the suspects instead. Now, we'll start with Mystery Inc., also known as the Scooby Gang, who really need no introduction, though we'll give them one anyways. First up are Fred and Daphne, the lovebirds of the group. Fred is a dork-turned-jock, always rocking an orange ascot and always a little insecure. Daphne, meanwhile, is more of a typical Valley Girl type, being obsessed with things like her hair, her makeup, and is seemingly always crushing on somebody other than her boyfriend. Then we've got Velma, the nerdy girl of the group, who is always wearing her orange turtleneck sweater and glasses. She's also really the only scientifically minded one of the group, always looking for a logical explanation for the weird things that happen around them when they're trying to solve mysteries. And last but not least for this group, there's the iconic stoner and his doggo, Shaggy and Scooby. These two are the scaredy cats of the group and have an appetite that never ends. They often serve as the group's comedy relief too, and they do it rather well, bumbling their way into weird encounters on their never-ending search for noms. Now, the reason why I said earlier that Mystery Inc. doesn't really need an introduction is because there's a lot of cartoons and a lot of movies that center around this particular part of the cast. I might even be reviewing a couple of their other movies, but for now, let's focus on the cast of this one. Now, the next group up is Kiss, a band known for their wild face paint, blood-spitting, fire-breathing, pyrotechnics, and a lot of other weirdness on stage. Now, the first member that we're going to talk about is Gene Simmons, who is the band's bass guitarist as well as a lead and backing vocalist. His persona is the long-tongued demon. Next up is Paul Stanley, the band's rhythm guitarist and another lead and backing vocalist. His persona is the starry-eyed pretty boy, Starchild. Then we have Tommy Thayer, the band's lead guitarist and lead and backing vocalist, and his persona is the silver-scarred spaceman. Last but certainly not least, and no, I didn't accidentally forget him in the script and have to put this in ad-lib, shut up, is Eric Singer, the band's drummer as well as a backing and lead vocalist. His persona is the green-eyed catman. Now, if that introduction didn't make it very obvious, every single member of this band is a vocalist, and it very much shows in their music. Anyways, these guys actually act as the movie's second set of protagonists, and it's because of their presence that things get, well, weird. Now, like I said, there are villains in this, but half the fun of the mystery is figuring out who they are, so I won't go into very much detail. Now, up first is the primary antagonist, the Crimson Witch, a flying and smoky apparition who appears screaming, "Give me a rock!" Then there is the Destroyer, and, well, it's a flying head in a jar that destroys things. It looks like one of the cosmic horrors out of an old X-Men cartoon, and I have a sneaking suspicion that drugs were involved in its design. Now, we're going to go through the lineup of suspects in a sort of quick-fire way so we can move on to talking about the plot, because I have a lot to say about this one. First up is Delilah Domino, the high-strung chief of security at the Kiss World amusement park. Next up is Manny Goldman, the overweight and, let's face it, kind of dumb supervisor of the Kiss World amusement park. Then there is Chip Magoo, the cheapskate manager of Kiss, who is always trying to sell you something. Another interesting one is Chikara, a fortune teller who works at the Kiss World amusement park, who comes off as pretty insane. Last we have Sandy Strutter, the head technician of the Kiss World amusement park, and while she's as nerdy as Velma, she's got the looks to rival Daphne. Anyways, I could go into more detail about the suspects, but it might give some stuff away about the plot that I really don't want to spoil for you all, because it's so much fun trying to figure it out on your own. Speaking of the plot, let's move on to talking about that. And all I can really say is, how many of the production team members for this movie were on drugs? This movie depicts the members of KISS as an extraterrestrial crime-solving group from the planet Kissteria, where they used the power of rock and roll to lock away some kind of cosmic horror centuries before. Each member of the group has their own powers connected to the overall stage presence of the band, from the demon having the ability to breathe fire and fly, to the spaceman being able to use a whip of electricity, and Starchild having the power of magic. I mean, come on, really? You can't tell me that the writers for this one weren't tripping balls when they wrote this script. There is even a point in the movie where they tried to chalk up all the weirdness that Mystery Inc. experiences that they can't explain to a literal acid trip. I mean, holy fluff, you have to face it, even a kid can figure out that there were drugs involved in this movie. Anyways, from the weird storyline to the insane and psychedelic visuals used, the soundtrack that probably cost a small fortune, and the generally crazy feel of this movie, it goes from normal to what the fluff and back in the span of just under an hour and a half, and it's an amazingly wild ride from start to finish, even if it's cornier than a cornfield. Now, I will admit that when this one was suggested, I judged it, and I judged it harshly. I originally assumed that I wouldn't like it, but when I actually sat down to watch, I found myself lost in the music and the imagery, and it left me wanting so much more. I really can't thank you enough, Andy, for suggesting this one, and for helping to prove that you really can't judge a book by its cover. Or in this case, a movie by its cover art. Overall, I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10 paws, because while it was amazing and fun to watch, it wasn't perfect. It had an ending that made no sense to me and felt a little like a major cop-out. That's it for this one, though. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and if you want to give this one a watch, go ahead and click the card or follow the link below. You can rent it for just $3 here on YouTube. Anyways, until next time, bye!
Oh yeah, I want to show our patrons some love too because they're awesome. Their contributions help us to afford all the neat stuff we use to record. So thank you. And if you want to become a patron too, you can click the link down in the description. You'd really be helping the channel out, and you'd get a couple nifty goodies too. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, then yay, you're amazing. By the way, subscribe. Please don't make a foxy bag.